So when I was an activist, I used to encourage people not to pay their bonds, their mortgages, because we saw business and the banking sector as aiding and abetting apartheid. Toward the end of the 80s into the early 90s, began to see business beginning to move. And some of us recognized that business could be a motive force for continuing change, even into democracy. Okay? Now, I was quite high up on the Gauteng ANC list for the first elections. And at that time, myself and Tokyo Sequale, who was chair of the Gauteng ANC at that time, and Paul Mashatile, who was Secretary General of the ANC at that time, and Tokyo Sequale went on to become Premier of the Gauteng. Paul Mashatile is still on the top leadership of the ANC. And the three of us sat down and we had a discussion, and Tokyo said, look, all of us can't go into government. Some of us have got to go into business and start influencing business. And that's where a decision was made that I do not go into the Gauteng government, and I was removed from the list. And that was my start into sort of business. And I played a role in the formation of the first mutual bank in this country called Community Bank, which was a low-income banking initiative. I then spent some time with the Kagiso Group in a small investment company. And then I was approached by the then CEO of the Banking Council at that time, Bob Tucker, who was CEO of one of the biggest building societies in the country before then, to join the Banking Association. And when I joined the Banking Association, I began to see the critical role that the banking sector could play in developing this economy, in enabling people to develop financial assets and get access to finance and so on. And so provided the industry began to see that its role in the socio-economy, if you like, is intricately linked to its long-term sustainability and profitability. And that's how I've tried to drive the Banking Association and the industry for the last 13-odd years. And I think that what's happened is that the industry, if you look at interaction between government and business, banking CEOs have played a critical role in that interaction. I think the Banking Association is positioned as a credible voice of the industry, but government and other stakeholders also see the Banking Association as a body, and I remind my board about this at the beginning of every year, that I'm not there to make them feel comfortable. I'm there to push the envelope, to get them to do business differently, but still profitably and sustainably, but to do business in a way that the banking sector is relevant to as many people in this country as possible, and not like in the old days where the banking sector was relevant to only a white minority, essentially. So that was a sort of journey from an activist that used to encourage people not to pay mortgages to actually representing the banking sector in this country.